What do you think, Frankie? Ah.
In one of my recent videos, you watched me dismantle the lower shelf in the greenhouse and put a permanent raised bed in its place. I did this with hopes of growing stuff through the winter. Now, I didn't know if this was going to be a successful endeavor or a waste of time, but who cares? I did it anyway. Alrighty, so that shelf is taken out of there. And now I gotta make another bed to fit there. I like the changes that I'm making in here. And I don't really know if it's just because it's a change, like when you rearrange your living room, how you like it better, and then a couple years later you rearrange it back and you like it better. So I don't really know if what it is, but I'm liking it and I'm having fun. It's cold out. It seems like a sunny day in here, but out there it's cloudy. We never see the sun anymore. Anyway, all right, I gotta quit jibber jabber and get to work. The last two peppers off of the plant. We were keeping them here just so they turn nice and red. This one's turning more orange than red. The other one's turned beautiful red. This plant has grown up so tall, and I don't think it's going to do much of anything now. It's not very happy over here because this is the coldest spot on the in the whole greenhouse. This is further from the wood stove. So I just finished building this bed here, and I was going to install that. But if that gets installed, then it's going to be that much harder to move that heavy pot. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut some of these peppers way down. I might leave this little one, cut the others down near the dirt line. Hopefully they spring back into life. And if not, just another lesson learned, right? But I don't think it's going to do much of anything. The leaves just keep dying off. They're not liking it over here. So I think the best chance is to cut it down. Then I'll move that pot over there closer to the wood stove. There's a pot of kale there, and kale likes the cooler weather, so I'm going to put the kale over here. Then I get the tractor fired up, pull the snow off of that frozen mound of dirt out there. But once I get into it, I'm certain that we'll be able to haul it in here, get this bed filled up, get this one ready to plant. Yeah. I knew that as soon as I put that first bed in here, I really liked the way it was looking, and it's going to serve us better. So, made the changes, and I think they're all changes for the good. I've never tried to re-root peppers. Had really good success with tomatoes, but I got nothing to lose. So I'll put a few of these in some water, put a couple more in the dirt, see what happens. And if it doesn't work, nothing lost, because they're going to get chucked anyway. Now, watching me attempt to garden when I'm deep in the woods and just as deep into winter, you probably think I'm off my rocker, but that's okay. I spent my lifetime thinking outside the box, so I'm used to people having thoughts like that about me. When I was a kid in school, flunking everything, they sent me to see the guidance counselor. And when I told him I was going to live in the woods when I grew up, he responded with, "You're going backwards, son. You're going backwards." I find that amusing because the way it turned out is I wasn't going backwards at all. The lifestyle I had chosen for myself back then is now trending today, and everybody wants to do it. Funny how things work out sometimes. You can tell the wind was really blowing that snow, huh? These hoops are totally encased with snow, even on the underside. I mean, it's just half-inch PVC. Just goes to show you how hard the wind blows through here sometimes. Yeah. Did we get the mouse? We did. We got the mouse. We got the mouse, Tal. Oh, there's two of them. Here's one. There's another one. What do you think, Tildy? I wanted some mouse soup. That ought to teach him for eating my seedlings. Well, today is just another crappy, cloudy day. But inside the greenhouse always feels like a sunny day. You see what I mean? It's a whole different atmosphere in here. Yeah. So you just saw where I was making some changes in here, and I want to show you the results of that. I come down here several times a day, and I just love it in here. It's a real uplifter. If anything is bothering me in any way, I come down here and I spend a little time, and I just get recharged. It's a wonderful place. So this is that second bed that I had built. There, we got a few things growing here. These are some little kale plants here that are coming up. These are Swiss chard here. And the beets, some little beets there coming up. These are radishes in this bed. Those are doing pretty good. This is just one of the mums that we had cut back after the frost killed them off. And some lettuce growing there. I think the date today is January 14th, maybe? Something like that. Yeah, so to have things growing, it's kind of cool. So this is the pepper plant that you saw me snipping these. Now, so far I've had no new regrowth from these stubs. But this pepper plant's doing pretty good. Now that I have moved it, it had two blossoms. It had a blossom there and a blossom there, but a mouse climbed up the stalk and ate the blossoms. But I do have a little pepper growing right there. And it looks like maybe a blossom's going to start right there. Now again, when I was cutting those, I said I didn't know if they were going to reroot like the tomatoes do. And they haven't. I want to show you. Whenever I cut off a piece of tomato, I can stick it right in the ground or in a pot and they regrow. Sometimes I stick them in the water and they reroot. The peppers have done not so good. So apparently they don't do it. So I was going to toss them anyway, so I had nothing to lose to give it a try. Hey man, always experimenting, always learning new things. Now here in these trays I've got a couple different kinds of lettuce here. Yeah. And some more lettuce here and some beets growing. More radishes there. Some spinach growing there. Tomato plants. Like here, okay, you can see where I cut the tomato plant and then it grew new life. The peppers are not doing that. Now the Swiss chard, that's always doing good. The lorry comes in, snips some, we have it with our supper, and it just regrows. And it's been doing that since day one, all right? We planted those seeds the first week of March, and now we're approaching mid-January. So those plants are almost a year old. Now remember how all the tomato plants were like this in here? And I cut them back. These are some cutoffs from this Chadwick, and I just put them in the ground right here. That's it. Yeah, I mean they're living, but the tomatoes are struggling with the lack of daylight and the cold temperatures in here. But if they survive, you know, in another 2 months, they will just spring to life. Yeah. Now these Chadwicks that I talked about and I've shown you, the lower part of the plant always looks like crap. But it just keeps growing, new life up here, new blossoms. And it just keeps producing tomatoes. And about every 10 days, Lori comes down and picks a handful of cherry tomatoes. Huh. There's one right there. There's another group there. A couple small ones there. Another one there. They're not as good as they are in the summer. They're a bit mealy, but so are the ones that you buy in the grocery store in the wintertime. So having them here in our salad, when we pick them up here on the freaking mountain in January when there's snow all the way around us, there's something to be said for that, man. Like I told you before, everything that we do in here is an experiment. We never had a greenhouse before. We just keep trying new things, see what works, see what doesn't. The one thing that really amazes me is the plants that are doing the best in here through the winter are the flowers. I would have thought that the colder temps, the lack of daylight, the first thing that would wither away would be the flowering plants, okay? That, like the pansies, would be the biggest pansies. If I would have put money on that, I would have lost it, because look at this. Look at these things. Okay, now these plants were the ones that Lori had hanging outside. And after we had several frosts, all right, winter was knocking on the door, and everything died back. That's when I got the brilliant idea of, well, why don't I just put them in the greenhouse and see what happens? And I wish I would have just thought of this before, but I had never had a greenhouse, okay? So we brought them in. Lori cut them right back, right pretty much to the dirt line, and they have sprung right back to life. You know, it's the same with these here. These were mums that we had bought at the grocery store for like $5.99 or something, you know. And Lori had them out on the porch in the fall, and they look nice, you know. So these were, they looked dead, okay, and there was no weight at all to the pot because it all dried out, and they looked dead. And now I go, you know, I'm going to take them into the greenhouse and start watering them and see what happens. Have absolutely nothing to lose. And again, Lori cut these right down to the dirt line pretty much, and look at them. They're springing back to life, man. Now look at this. We have blooms on Lori's petunias in January, and there's another one up there just getting ready to open up. See it right there? Kind of funny thing about these petunias is when the flower is preparing to open, it looks like a flower that is going by, you know, that is already closing up and wilting away. And even though there's not flowers on most of the stuff, just having a nice greenery and all of the life in here and all the oxygen that they produce, it's wonderful. I know people say like, oh, you're like a kid in a candy store when you're in your greenhouse, but I am. It's just so uplifting being in here. And it's fun experimenting. You know, people say, well, that's not going to work and that's not going to work and everything else, but there are stuff here that's blowing my mind. Yeah, it's a wonderful place in here. And knowing that we created it, we created this environment. And other things are enjoying the environment, which only brings us more enjoyment. So that's just a win-win situation. Now, something I want to show you, I was just showing this on Patreon the other day. Now, in the summertime, we have these doors open. So bees can come and go, and butterflies come in here, and occasionally a bird comes in here too, but they find their way out. But the chipmunk would come in here. Remember, we were growing sunflowers out here. We had flowers all throughout the garden, and we had some big, tall sunflowers, different colors, and it attracted a lot of bees to the garden. And of course, you need the bees for pollination. So the chipmunk would take seeds from the sunflower and bring them in here and bury them all over the place. So throughout this winter so far, we have sunflowers popping up all over the place. So I take some of them and I put them in the little party cups. And I'm growing sunflowers in here that the chipmunk planted from the seeds from our sunflowers. And look, this one's got a little blossom starting already. I just think it's the coolest thing. It's the middle of frickin' winter time up here on the mountain. Mission Impossible wasn't so impossible.
Frankie and the boss out walking in the woods, living life happy and free. Tracks in the snow everywhere they go. There's a porky way up in that tree. A beaver built a pond where they have some fun, taking life a day at a time. Best friends until the end. Frankie and the boss. Frankie and the boss. Frankie and the boss.